something like this being served to you. So you can see it just doesn't look very appetizing. In this picture, this is all stuff that I found on Instagram. You guys might have seen the cafeteria review pages. Someone found plastic in their food. It's just not the most sanitary, not the most yummy. And so I am a freshman, right? That means that the first time that I experienced the cafeteria was this year. So I just want to put into perspective, I was Monday of Jumpstart. I walked into the cafeteria. Well, I didn't exactly walk into the cafeteria. I stood in a very long line for about half an hour and gradually got into the cafeteria, right? And at first I was actually kind of impressed. There were so many more options than I expected there to be. The food looked good. I wanted to try everything. There was a pizza bar, there was salad, there was sushi, there was the main line, there was international line. It just seemed like there was something for everyone, and I was really excited about that. Go ahead and change the next slide. So, is it in order? Okay. Yeah, okay. Go ahead and change the next slide. So I want to talk about, first of all, what Sodexo is. Sodexo is the company that the cafeteria is run under. It is not just a cafeteria company. It is a multi-billion-dollar company that is placed in several different countries. They don't just do cat food. They also do soft facilities management, which, looking at it, had to do with social work and just helping people. And then there's hard facilities and management services, which is has to do with technology, like solar panels and other things. And then there's the benefits and reward services. This is all taken directly from their website, by the way. And from looking at that, it's literally just working at them, the benefits and rewards of working with them. I don't know if any of you guys have worked with them, but and then there's also personal and home services, which is where they go into the houses themselves and help people with, it's like a retirement home, but not just for old people. So what they promise is that they will help the climate, they will provide new technology, they will have safe food and do safety checks and make sure that everything is clean and safe. And they will give healthy food, and they say that they hire the best chefs that they can. And we go back to the other side. Okay. So why do we have a problem with the cafeteria? So today, Faith and Leandre are going to be talking about the cleanliness of the cafeteria, and Diego is going to be talking about waste and how much the food that is just gone to waste in the cafeteria, and Abe is going to be talking about the finances. So Leandre is going to start us off.
My name is Leandre, and I am the one person out of our group that got the privilege, I don't even know if it's privilege, but the opportunity to work in the CAF. So I have some insights that I can share with you all. So first, I would like to talk about foodborne illnesses, and this has to do with the cleanliness problem that we're facing in the CAF. So according to CDC.gov, a couple of foodborne illnesses like norovirus, salmonella, Clostridium, perfringens, I think I said that right, I'm saying that right, and Campylobacter, I'm probably saying that wrong. But these four are common food illnesses that are found in the food, and symptoms usually come with stomach pain and diarrhea. They all really share that in common. And these are things that will be a product of the CAF not being clean with its dishes and its food. Next slide, please. Okay, so again, like I said, I have some personal experiences with the CAF. And first, I'd like to talk about the ratio of cost to quality. I do not think that we really get our money's worth out of Sodexo because of the quality of the foods and how much we're paying for. I will not go into specific costs that will be touched later on in the presentation, but there are times when we walk into the CAF and we only have one line available to us, like the main line. But then, specifically at dinner, it'll be $10 and such change. But if we only have one option available to us and there's not enough there, we're spending so much more money for what we're getting. And that's usually not fair to us as students. The other thing that we have all probably seen at least one time is the portion control. It doesn't make any sense, because again, I've worked there and I see when they make every single meal, there is a plethora of food just left in the back, and which usually goes to waste. So for how much we're spending and the little food that we are getting, even along with the quality, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's the ratio of cost to quality. Working in the dish room, I worked there. They started me there for about the first 3 weeks when I was working there, and it was not the best time due to that dishwasher always breaking down. And so they kind of glorified it when they were training me there. So they were like, "This is the state of the art dishwasher. It works all the time. Like the place will be clean. This, that, as long as you do this right." But I would be using it right, which was to put the dishes on this platter. You put the platter on the conveyor belt, it'll go inside. But you'll do that maybe 2 to 3 times, and it will just break down. So you have to stop the whole process, go into this section, turn it off, turn it back on. That's just a lot that goes on, and that is what aids into the cleanliness issue of these dishes that you will see when you want to reach for a plate. I know a lot of times I'm at the salad line, and I would like to take a plate to just get some salad, healthy options. And I see a red spot in there, and I can look at an angle and see that is still in the plate, or like into the surface of the plate. And it's like, come on, guys, we would like to eat like healthy, but if you have dirty dishes, it doesn't help that problem. And the last one is overall cleanliness. Again, with the dishes and sometimes the counters, they're just not clean and sanitary enough for us to use. Next slide, please. So, CAF cleanliness, according to the PTA.org, these are some ways that we can implement a more clean environment for us as students, or the CAF can implement a clean environment for us. The first one is offer attractively displayed fruits and vegetables at the start line. I don't know about some of you guys, but I try to get some of the fruits, and some of the fruits, like the apples, they have black spots in them. They look like just something you do not want to eat. When you look at the other fruits, like the cantaloupes, the honeydew, and all that, they look old. Like, that shouldn't be allowed for them to serve us older food. You see what I'm saying? The second one is to make water readily accessible to all students. Try providing fruit and vegetable-infused water to encourage water consumption. Third is to place a variety of fruit at the point of checkout. Fourth is to ensure the food services team is trained to politely prompt students to select and consume the daily vegetable option. Sometimes they just say, "Here's your food, and go." It would probably be better if they do ask us to implement better vegetable options. And the last one is to ensure the daily fruit and vegetable option is bundled in the grab-and-go meals. That specifically relates to cleanliness, because if the fruit and vegetable options are kind of scattered, it kind of allows the food to be everywhere around that specific area than to be in a bundle. So next slide, please. So just to recap on my points, cafeteria should be clean to avoid the chance of students getting food poisoning or foodborne illnesses, like I talked about earlier. Students should get what they pay for, because money is very valuable to us. And cleanliness includes presentation and the quality of food. So next, Faith will be talking about solutions to the cleanliness issue.
Good morning, everyone. So as Leon just stated, cleanliness is very important in the cafeteria because our health is at risk, and also we pay a lot, as Abe will talk about later, to eat this food. And so if it's unsafe, if it's unclean to go to the caf, then that's not really fair to us. So I'll be talking about the solution due to possible understaffing, and then a solution for the inefficient dishwasher. So this is an example from Purdue University, and what they did is, when the cafeteria had enough staff to properly clean and sanitize the dishes, they would use plastic dishes. But when they were understaffed and they knew the dishes couldn't be properly cleaned, they would switch to paper, which is bad for the environment, but also what's, our health or a paper plate. This ensures staff is not overworked and that they can effectively perform their job. This is also beneficial because if a staff member is overworked,
overworked, they're more likely to not to quit the job, to defer others from working at the cafeteria, because as Leandre stated, it was not the most enjoyable experience. Leandre also stated that they told him the dishwasher was state of the art, and I believe the dishwasher in the caf is a conveyor dishwasher, which you can see costs $13,000 to $25,000, which is very expensive. So I'm sure at one point in time the dishwasher was exceptional, but now that it's breaking down so much, these are some options that it could be replaced. So a conveyor dishwasher is capable of 225 racks an hour, which seems like a lot. And then a door-type dishwasher is capable of 70 to 75 racks an hour, and it's a little bit cheaper and it doesn't require as much space. These are expensive. They're not cheap, but neither is our meal plan, which Abe will talk about. So it's kind of give or take as well. And this is from the activeelement.org. So just an overview. The cafeteria can switch between paper and plastic based off of staff, and then a new dishwasher can be purchased to help with efficient cleanliness. And now Diego will talk about waste in the cafeteria.
So as you guys know, we as students tend to waste a lot of the food in the cafeteria. And that has a big part of us just straight up not liking the food and being overwhelmingly dissatisfied with it, just as Amelia mentioned earlier, because there are food reviews on Instagram that let us know, hey, the food is not that great today, or, it's not that bad. So basically what I'm going to talk about is what are some other causes to why there's so much waste on campuses and in general as well, and how extreme is it, what are the actual numbers of that, and what are ways to solve that issue, or at least reduce it. And here on this graph, you can see that according to the Arizona State University, that Americans can fill up over 700 college stadiums with the amount of food they waste each year, which, as you can see, is a very large number. So how much food is actually wasted on campus? So according to a study done by the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, or JAND, they conducted a study of over 500 students, those that are have a meal plan and that are dorming. They found that they waste around 57 grams of food per tray or serving, which it may not sound like a lot, but if you think about it, it accumulates over time and per student as well. So you can see here, it accumulated over 1.5 tons of food waste per week. Now it's just a study of 500 students, so imagine, larger schools and whatnot. So it could lead to a really big problem. And also, according to the Food Recovery Network, on top of that, 22 million pounds of food is wasted yearly on college campuses alone. However, there is hope. There are ways to prevent this, or at least reduce it significantly. According to the University of Illinois, a simple solution is just to simply have smaller plates, which may not seem like it makes a difference, but if you think about it, if you are given a smaller plate, and if you don't like the food already at the cafeteria, which is very common here, you're gonna waste less food because you grab less on the plate. And it even proved that once they switched from normal big round plates to smaller oval-shaped plates, the percentage of, proportion of food that was wasted went down from 15.8% to 11.8%, almost 20 grams, which again might not seem like a lot, but like I mentioned before, it accumulates over time and per student. Another one is simply just social media campaigns, or just to market it around school. In the same study done by the Food Recovery Network that I mentioned in the previous slide, just by making students aware that there's a problem and that they should, that they encourage them to either get less food or to at least try to eat as much as possible, they were able to decrease the waste by 15% in that study of 500 students. And also another good method is composting. Universities such as Michigan State and Purdue University have implemented a program called Campus Race to Zero Waste, which they have specific trash cans just for the food that was wasted at the cafeteria or leftover food, and they make it into compost. For here, I don't know if we have like any gardening or whatnot, so even if we couldn't use composting, we could still sell it and or give it away to other organizations or people that would actually put it to good use. Just to recap, so what can be taken away from this, that food waste on campus is a really big problem, but it is not often talked about enough. And thousands of pounds of food is wasted every day, and millions wasted per year. Meal plans and buffet style meals often contribute to food waste the most, as kids, students just grab as much as they want, or workers just give them way too much. And simply acknowledging and encouraging students to mind how much food they're wasting can significantly reduce the waste on campus. And for the waste that we do have on campus, composting has many benefits to it that besides recycling can be good nutrients for, like I said, gardening and soil. And Abe will be talking about the problems of financing with the meal plans and how expensive it could be and how it could negatively affect others.
So, we've talked about things like the cleanliness of the caf, the quality of the food, the efficiency of washing dishes, the waste that we provide. But maybe that you're not all into that. It's like, the food's okay. It's better than at home, or it's better than wherever. And whatever. I eat on dirty dishes once a week anyway. It's not that big of a deal. I don't care about food waste. But we got some cold hard facts. These are numbers that the federal government, state government, and Walla Walla themselves have provided. And these you can't argue with. These are not subjective. So things like we'll be talking about minimum wage, amount of work hours in school, U.S. Median annual wage, stuff like that. So right here we got a bunch of graphs. This is from usafacts.org. This is like the main U.S. site for financials. So over there you can see that the median annual wage is about $42,000 a year. And so what that means is at any given time, on average, one person will make $42,000 a year, which, can be good or bad depending on what you see in your living situation. But as we'll talk about later, it's not really as much as it seems. Nationwide employment, this is actually pretty funny. It says over there, the employment to population ratio is 57%. So what that means is basically half of the population in the U.S. is not working. Now that includes obviously children and retirees, but 57% of the population is working. If we take employment at 148 million people, if you roughly double that, it's about 350 million, which is that's actually a little lower. I think right now the U.S. has about 350 million people. That would make it out to be about 280-ish million, and half of those are not working. Now it says unemployment rate is 8%. Well, that seems significantly lower than 43% of the population. But what that actually means is the amount of people in the workforce, the percentage of the workforce that is not working. So that is only people that are eligible to work, being ages 16 to whatever the average retirement rate is, or age is. And that means that on average, 270,000 people aren't working that can work. That's like, that's not that much. It's only 270,000 compared to 148 million. But if you compare that to the Great Depression we think of, everybody's out of work, out of money, whatever, terrible time. Only 44,000 people were unemployed during the Great Depression, which was only 3% of the workforce. And their employment to population ratio was at 87%. So most of the U.S. was actually working at that time. They just weren't getting paid anything. History repeats itself. Anyway, so federal minimum wage is $7.25. So if you don't live in a state that has a minimum wage or has, they go with the required, that's all you make per hour. And to be honest, that won't even get you rent every month. So things like living expenses, I talked about rent. Bank of America did a study where they took average rent, average house mortgage, phone bill, electrical, entertainment, all subscripted services, everything like that, children, healthcare, everything. And you actually pay per year $61,000. Now, if the median annual wage is $42,000 and the living expenses is $61,000, then there's a deficit there. That means that you're having to cut areas that Bank of America and the US find as essential. You have to remove those out of your life, so that you can pay for it. And that is recognize, here's another fun thing about government. The IRS, this number down here, their real median household income, that's basically taking your median annual wage and multiplying it by inflation rates. So that's what the IRS is taking taxes from, but the median annual wage is actually how much you make. So your taxes are actually being taken from a bigger bracket because of inflation. So yeah, lots of fun stuff there. So now we have some financial issues here in Wawa. I'm sorry if you're out of state. Not only does Washington have the highest minimum wage, we also get in-state benefits for being here. So if you're out of state, I am sorry. And if you're out of conference, I'm even more sorry, because then the conference office can't help either. Maybe different conferences will help, but. So the Washington State median annual wage, over there, that's per month. And that's the number of working members in a household. So let's say average family has 2 working members, the 2 parents, right? So that means they make about $6,000 a month, which is about $72,000 a year. Now, if you recall the $61,000 a year living expenses, that means they only have $11,000 a year to spend. And tuition here is $44,000. So you're still having a deficit, even in Washington, which has the highest minimum wage, you're still not quite reaching a fairly livable standard, and being able to come to school here. So like I said, Washington State has the highest minimum wage. The minimum wage here right now is $13.64. I believe it's going to go up to $14.40 as of New Year's. Second place is actually Massachusetts with $13.50 an hour, and third is California with $13 an hour. So yes, Washington has the highest minimum wage, but for some reason that's still becoming an issue. Over there, it's kind of hard to see, but I circled the cafeteria expenses from last year and the cafeteria expenses from this year. The website states that the Gold Flex plan is the most common plan. It's also the default plan that you get if you don't sign up for one. And so over there, the Gold Flex was last year, it was about $1,212. This coming year, the one that we have to sign up for is going to be $1,236. Now, obviously, it's adjusted for inflation rates, but our flex dollars do not go up. Our flex dollars will stay at the same amount, and what that means is our meals will cost more, or cost the same if you bring in inflation, but our flex dollars will be worth less, which means we are not getting as much value out of our plan as we used to. This sucks because a lot of people don't have a ton of extra money, like $1,200 a quarter sitting around. I actually did some math, and I had to do the math again and again because I didn't think it was right. If you take $1,200 a quarter, multiply that by 3, so that you have for a year, assuming you're not doing summer quarter and you didn't plan then, and then multiply that, we have roughly 2,000 students in this school. That's $7,200,000 in 1 year for all students. And now what that means is, as Leandre pointed out, Sodexo gets paid for that. Sodexo gets paid 10%, which means they're making $720,000 a year off of us. And most students hardly use 1 or 2 meals a week, a day. So basically, us collectively as a student body ends up spending about $7 million that we didn't need to. So the required work for a meal plan, if you do the maths, which I have, to figure out with the Washington state minimum wage, the amount of hours it would take to pay off 1/4 of meal plan is over 90 hours. Which means if you take into effect that most people work 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's about 10 hours a week, it'll take you almost all quarter to pay off your meal plan. And that's not including other things such as textbooks, if you live in the dorm, anything like that. So we're kind of coming up short, and then we have to work a lot for it, and then we can't pay it off anyway. So this is sort of the conclusion of what we have. On the left or on the right-hand side, you see we're royally screwed, and on the left-hand side is kind of what we can do about it. Technically, there is no such thing as a required meal plan in federal or state law. It's only that American universities do this because their argument is they don't want their students to go hungry. Let's be honest, their argument is we want to get paid. So this has actually been tried to abolish in New Jersey so that there cannot be a required meal plan, but that failed. And students have actually been protesting this for years. So what we can do is we can create a pay by meal, where every time you go get food, you scan your card and it'll charge it to your student account, as opposed to paying a bunch of money up front and not using all of it. What else we can do, because obviously the school wants to still get paid, they still want to pay their CAF staff, we can include a general CAF expense in tuition, $500 a student. That's less than half of what we pay now, and more than covers everything that they do in the CAF if we do $500 a student. Actually, I think we could bring it even down to $300 a student, which is what some universities have tried to do. Or some universities even, they won't make you have a meal plan, but even if you don't eat a single meal, they'll charge you $300 just because for the cafeteria. So, on that note, I will let Amelia wrap it all up.
Okay. So just to remind you of everything that we have talked about, I talked about what Sodexo is, and then Leandre and Faith talked about the problem of cleanliness and quality of the cafeteria. Faith brought up some excellent points of how we could bring that down with a new dishwasher and with the new dishwasher as well as, what was the other thing? As well as the staff situation. And then Diego talked about waste and how we can compost things or reduce or make the plates smaller. And A talked about